What's up, guys? We are back with another review, and we're taking a slightly early look at a Wave 1 Savage Crucible figure. So I took a look at a Paint Master for a dwarf months and months ago, probably more than a year ago, I think, at this point. And I've been really curious not only to see the finished product for this line, but to take a look at one of the lizard guys, and that's what we've got here. So this is the LEMURIAN Royal Guard, and I'm really excited about this. Again, I backed the Kickstarter. It's been a while, so there's, a lot of interest to see how this turned out, and here we are. As of this review, Kickstarter orders are going to be shipping within like the next week or so, I think, so you'll be getting yours really soon, assuming you're not watching this in the far future. And they do come in pretty snazzy packaging. So you got like the window box, the flap treatment, the whole deal. You've got the Savage Crucible logo, that big spread of artwork. I think we've seen this a few times. And then the back of the box gives kind of a vague write-up of the world and the history of Savage Crucible, sort of. And then inside this flap, you get the bio for that specific character. So this talks about the Royal Guard, and then you've got your figure there. Now, one thing that I want to point out, and maybe this is a surprise, maybe it's not something that they've really advertised, I don't know, but there are warnings on this box to look behind the backer card, the map. So there's a map inside of here. Pull that out, and there is something back there. I'm not gonna share it because I think it's a surprise, and it may hint at something to come, maybe. I don't know. So take a look at that. Don't just throw the box away. There is something in there. It's not for the figure, but it is related to Savage Crucible. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Savage Crucible LEMURIAN Royal Guard. And this guy is very, very different from the Paint Master figure that I got to take a look at whenever that was. That was a dwarf with very different construction of this. Wave 1 is all about lizard men, and I'm very much interested in that because, well, lizard men. So let's see what this guy can do, see how he moves around. Definitely got some interesting articulation going on here. I honestly think I forgot as much about these figures as I remember, so a lot of this just doesn't seem familiar to me. So let's take a look, see what's going on here. What is he capable of? So we've got a head that can look up a little bit. He can look down pretty good. You do have some tilt side to side, but he's got these sort of big jowls because of his opening jaw that does seem to get in the way of sort of bobbling side to side, but then you also get this very wide opening mouth, which I do really like. Your arms go out at the shoulders. They, of course, swivel. You've got a butterfly joint here also to get that arm to cross the chest. We've got a bicep swivel up there. You've got double jointed elbows. These are like NECA joints, like NECA double jointed elbows on like human figures. So it's that little, I don't know, I always call it like a hot dog that was in between the bicep and the wrist. The gauntlet does get in the way of utilizing the lower hinge. So it's a hinge here and a hinge down in here. And you get 90 here. You get hinge up and down, so it's a vertical hinge on these hands with rotation, of course, so he's a sword user, which works really well. Diaphragm cut is really, really nice on this guy. I mean, he's got some serious tilts up, back, side to side, left, right, all the directions. And then you've also still got a ball jointed waist down here, so he gets tons and tons of range at the torso. A lot of potential there. Legs go out about yay far. They kick forward. They're going to kick backwards slightly. You've got a thigh twist up there. Knees are the same kind of situation as the elbows, and you get about that far back. So it's a hinge here and it's a hinge here. You also do have swivel as a result of that. And then you've got hinges, you've got rocker, pretty decent rocker down here at those ankles. Nice hinge. You do have rotation there also. And you've got a toe hinge. I don't know if this is universal on every figure, but it's there for the snake guys or lizard guys. And then he's got a tail. So the tail is a hinge that goes up into like the butt area. And then you've got little ball pegs that will allow it to move side to side, in and out, up and down, segmented throughout the tail. So he moves really well. Like, there's not really anything that I'm going to say is actually limiting him. I mean, he does have some limitations because of like the armor, the gauntlets on the wrist, but really that's about it. And even that is more than manageable. Everything else about this dude moves really, really fluidly. Now, just as important as his articulation, I think at a general sense, at kind of like a base level, high level, he looks really good. There's a ton of detail, lots of sculpt. Every little bit and bob on this guy has texture, it has depth, it has some pitting, and there's just a lot going on from the scaliness of the skin to all of this armor that he's wearing. There is also a pretty decent amount of paint here too. I will say, One thing that kind of stands out to me here when I went back and looked at some of the older artwork is that this guy's color does seem to have been changed at some point. Not his skin, but his armor. His armor had a purple tinge to it. There's no purple on this guy here, which your mileage may vary on whether that matters or not. I don't know that I truly care. That's, generally speaking, that doesn't bother me too much when stuff like that happens. I think this works. He's a guard. He doesn't need to have some sort of crazy color, but the purple did look cool. This, however, I do think looks pretty nice, and I'm really, really pleased with how this armor finish is. It's a weird way to describe it, but the word I want to use is soft. Not in a bad way. Like the colors on him, they're obviously metallic. They're gold. They're supposed to be metal, right? So you've got this sort of dingy gunmetal. You've got this gold color. But it doesn't pop necessarily when you hit it with light. It does light up and it does have some shine to it. But it's not like, vac metal or anything. It does look almost a little dingy, like it's been used, which I think looks pretty cool. So I'm assuming that might be what they're going for. If not, that's how I'm interpreting it, but I think it looks pretty neat. There is a ton of detail all over this. There's snakes all over this guy, from his bracers to his pauldrons to the chest armor to his belt, down to the shin guards, the whole deal. I do really like the way the skin looks. It's got tons of texture on it. You've got some paint. He doesn't have a lot of paint on the skin itself. You've got these white stripes on the head, on the hands, on the arms, on the legs. You do have a little bit of like an overspray on the torso here to break him up a little bit. So the torso does have like a grayish color to it by comparison. I maybe would have liked to have seen some of that on some other parts of the figure, but at the same time, maybe not, right? I don't know. In hindsight, it might not look better than how he looks now. But I do think this guy looks pretty fantastic. The sculpt is tremendous. There is tons of detail all over this. This is one of those things that, like, maybe if you didn't know, you wouldn't expect that this is like a first figure from this company. I know they're pretty seasoned at making stuff by now, but this is a full-on toy line. And I think for the most part, this does not come across as necessarily a we've made our first figure kind of thing. This looks like something that is a little bit more seasoned to me. So I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I love the way it feels in hand. Everything is very sturdy, not overly tight by any means, but also not loose. And then it just looks fantastic. It's really nicely done, and it's a pretty unique looking figure. This black and white lizard, snake dude, whatever you want to call him, I think looks pretty fantastic. And I love the head sculpt. I love this big, humongous opening mouth, like, shove another figure's head in there or something. And then you've got a little pop of color with the white stripes, as well as this orange and yellow eye, which I'm always a big fan of. And they are slightly painted forward, not forward, but they're not like right in the middle of the eye either, to make it look like he is sort of looking at you versus looking, like out to the side. He also does come with weapon storage, which we'll talk about here in a minute when we get to accessories, but you've got a place to put all of his swords on him, assuming I'm not miscounting. So you've got these little things here for his swords. And yeah, this guy just looks pretty fantastic. I'm really happy with the way he turned out, and just can't wait to get the rest of these guys in hand to stack them up next to each other. Now, of course, new line, we have to talk about size comparisons. So we've got, a couple other things. The big comparison, Mythic Legion. So we got a standard 1.0 figure here on the right. They're very comparable. They're going to stack up and cross-pollinate, I'm sure, just fine. You'll be able to mix and match. The finish and the overall design aesthetic is not the same, but size-wise, I think they work. And then we've got a Figuarts over here on the left. Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Let's do a Super 7 Ultimates. Let's do a standard kind of figure. So here is a Shredder. And of course, they're fairly comparable. So this guy is in this 7-inch-ish range. Let's pull Goku aside and let's do a Hasbro figure, because we have to do a Hasbro figure. So there is Marvel Legends Forge. And then let's do one more. A bigger figure, something very, related, but not the same. So there is one of these Zesray Studio Minotaurs, and of course he's so big he's out of frame, but this gives you an idea of how he's going to stack up there. So these guys are going to mix pretty well. I think they're going to mix pretty well with Hasbro stuff, but of course they're also going to mix really, really well with just about anything, 1/10 scale, specifically, of course, Mythic Legions. Now, as far as accessories goes, the Royal Guard has a decent amount of stuff. It's not a lot, but it's not nothing either. He comes with just enough for him to be an army builder, basically. So you get a bunch of weapons, and then you get some hands. So he's got vertically hinged gripping hands on him in the box, and then you get a set of laterally hinged style posy hands. I would have liked to have seen fists. That's pretty typical. I would have liked to have seen those. We do get 4 swords, though. So he's got 2 of these curved blades, which look really great. A lot of pitting on all the weapons. So they definitely look worn and used. Nicely painted wraps on the handle. And then, of course, these go on his waist. And then we also get 2 of these big old swords that fit on his back. And these look great. I'm really happy with this design. It's pretty unique, nice curved sort of hook design there, and more pitting and wear and tear. And again, these are really big. Actually, both of the swords are basically the same size. They just are very different in design. So I'm really happy with these. You get a decent set of options just as far as swords go with this guy. He doesn't have anything else really, but that's enough specifically, I think, because he is an army builder. So you get 2 sets of cool swords, and then you get 2 total sets of hands. So yeah, overall, this is a really solid figure, and I think a pretty solid example of what this line is going to be like, right? Great potential out of this articulation scheme for sure. The diaphragm cut, the waist in particular, those are some things to call out just because of the range and the way you can push that and make him get into some really serious positions. But it also looks good too. I like the design, I like the paint, I like the sculpt, I like the general idea of the figure. You know, lizard, snake men kind of stuff has always done it for me, and it's doing it for me here too. Not to mention the fact that it does also feel really well put together. You know, like I said, it doesn't necessarily feel like something from a company that's never really made a full line of figures before. And it also comes with some really solid accessories too. So if you're into this kind of stuff, there's probably no reason not to snatch a few of them up. So that's going to do it for this look at the Savage Crucible Lemurian Royal Guard. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.